that all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter or write upon the opinions of others.
This is from the Creed of the Church of Scientology. Why was there yelling in the course room? Wouldn't you think, from my own ideas as a never and knowing what a basic public course room looks like, there's no real talking unless it's to the course supervisor.
Oh yeah, no, the yelling would happen in the hallway or in another room, but you could hear it. Maybe I should have been more clear, but it's either we had Sea Org executives or Sea Org staff member all around us because I was at a Sea Org base. So in the middle of the Sea Org environment, you had a bunch of org class 5 org staff being brought for this training. So we're training in these classrooms, but around us are Sea Org members doing their Sea Org thing. And so we saw Sea Org members, almost coming to fists with each other, fighting in the hallway over some, nonsense that these guys would get all upset with each other about. Or it would be direct, the ire would go our way because we weren't making our targets or we weren't getting stuff done, or somebody was late and so they got to get a face ripping is what they would call it. They'd call it, you got to go get a face ripping, or a severe reality adjustment. That's where I learned that term. SRA. We're going to give you an SRA. I actually thought this was just a regular term, but apparently this is a Scientology thing. I thought it was just regular. When I started using that SRA term outside of Scientology spaces, people are like, what are you talking about? It's like, don't you know? I thought everybody knew what an SRA was because I got them all the damn time.
Meanwhile, everybody's like, yeah, that's just straight up abuse.
Exactly. And and you see, here's the thing is breaking you. What I really mean by that is normalizing abuse. You're in a new environment. You have to become acclimated to it. And you got to normalize what these people are doing, and fighting and fisticuffs and yelling and screaming was normal for these people. So it became normal for me.
Were there ever any kind of thing, well, besides like the pro TRs or whatever, were there any reasons that they justified the fighting? Like, was there any type of policy or lecture quote or anything like that that justified or even condemned the fighting?
Not condemned it. No, it's the other way around. Hubbard talked about the fact that, especially with Sea Org members, there were Sea Org issues, flag orders, they're called, which talk about how, if you need to move somebody out of your way to get your job done, you're perfectly entitled to do so. If you have to come to blows, well, okay. I think there's one reference that mentions that, but we had a briefing one time years after this, when I was in the Sea Org at Big Blue. RTC, which is the senior organization in Scientology. There isn't anything above RTC. So when you're talking to somebody who works in RTC, you are talking to the top of the totem pole. And this one individual did a briefing. He was an RTC staff member there posted at Big Blue. And there had been a fight. There had been a couple of Sea Org members who'd gotten into blows, and the story had gotten around. Oh wow, yeah, they fought. And the RTC guy comes up and he says, "Look, this recently happened, and I want to be clear with everybody about this because this is important for you to understand. We don't really care if you're cutting into fights. What we care about is you getting your job done." And he read 2 or 3 L. Ron Hubbard references, including this one who's, I'm sorry, the name of it escapes me right now. I'd have to go dig it up. But it talks about how, you don't let anything get in your way. And if you have to, move somebody or fight somebody or get, come to blows with somebody over getting something done because they're trying to stop you from getting your job done, then you're justified in doing so. Oh, yeah. And Hubbard said in that flag order, and send me the bill. for the patch up. So pretty clear, it was pretty clear that they encouraged that behavior, but they didn't want somebody running around beating on other people all the time. It was just if somebody's trying to stop you from getting your job done, Lay into them. Don't hold back.
Isn't that essentially what not the beating, not physically at least, but at least verbally, isn't that just what management is? It's just constant verbal beatings.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. It's an almost daily occurrence. I worked for Scientology management at the middle management continental level, is how they have it divided up. So I was overseeing delivery in the Western United States, along with a bunch of other people who were overseeing other aspects of Scientology delivery and promotion and marketing and all of that. Over in the West US was our territory. And working in that organization for about 8 or 9 years, I saw, everything you're going to see in management. And I can tell you that we were on eggshells all the time. It's hard to get across because it's almost like a war environment. Like it's like you're on pins and needles every second of every day. You don't know where it's going to come from. And every time you start to relax, you start hearing some yelling and screaming on the other side of the wall or down the hall, or they're coming your way. And somebody's got something to lay into you about. You didn't get something done. You've ignored something. There's some problem somewhere that you didn't see coming, but you should have seen it coming anyway, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's always something to lay into you about. So, and most of the time it was being done by young women, girls, really. I mean, we're talking teenagers who were Commodore's messengers or RTC staff, and they would, move up the ranks and come around and give you the what for whenever they wanted to.